May it be a light for you in dark places when all other lights go out.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of A Light in the Dark. And this is our After Nova recap, where we're going to go ahead and talk about everything that happened on Nova, just kind of a general overview. Man, fantastic event. We actually had 20 more players this year than we did last year sign up, and I think I took on a few too many events. I think a lot of people who noticed me noticed I was really tired. I ran 9 events by myself for the most part, except for the GT. Thanks Dave and Evan and Shannon and Michelle, Evan's girlfriend, for making that possible. Wouldn't have been possible otherwise. It turned into a smooth running event. And I just wanted to kind of go over what you may have missed if you weren't there. So essentially, the British have won again. It seems like even though we threw the best of the OSBGL and some of the best of the Americans and a lot of our best troops at them, they continue to knock them down. So, hey, it is what it is, you know. The British have a lot more experience when you're talking about just overall competitiveness. They run 20 tournaments a year for the GBHL. They've been doing this a lot longer, and ultimately, many of our players learn from them. So, way to go, James, Tom, and Damien, actually in the order of Tom, Damien, and James, is first, second, and third. I know that you guys have been preparing for this for a little bit, in the sense of like you guys went to Long Bottom Carnival just to make sure that you guys were ready and everything because you knew the competition would be higher, and they admit it. They admit that the competition was actually quite a bit stronger. We had Ben and Andrew Brock, Garrett Pogson, and Adam Chandler taking the lead for the Canadian crew, really giving them a hard challenge. Then for the American side, Benjamin Erickson, Jacob Hall, you had Matt Iverson, Evan Iverson. I saw you on the table against James. That looked like a rough game. A lot of people on there, on those tables, really giving them a run for their money. So I think that overall, very successful event. Now, the highlight moment, many of you might have been surprised about. I didn't advertise it very much at all. It was actually the terrain. The reason I didn't advertise the terrain is because Steve Crow's tournament up in England also had a lot of terrain, and that was kind of the highlight of his scouring of Cheshire. I didn't really want to feel like I was stealing the show. I know I wouldn't have been. It's 2 different events on 2 different continents. Even Steve says he would have been fine with it. Even James says would have been fine with it. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too nice a guy, but that's just kind of how I felt about it. So, but ultimately, if you guys look, we had 30 boards in Middle Earth. We had, I mean, just Bree and Osgiliath and the Farharad, Dual Amroth, a lot of boards that you guys may not have actually seen before. And they were all to the best quality we could make them. This takes a lot of effort. Some of them weren't completely done. Very few, like mostly Gorgoroth, was not completely done. And obviously for Nova next year, we're going to be putting in a lot more boards. And I've already gotten some advice from Tim Hickson, a California champion out in the West Coast. Gotten some advice from David Clubley, some advice from John McConnell, Matt Iverson. I mean, you guys gave a lot of great advice. Oh, and by the way, those players as well gave the GBHL some hurt. I'd never mentioned them, but like I said, there was a lot more competition this year. But yeah, I don't even think I've covered all the names that that really were much more improved competition. But regarding the terrain, they did note certain little things about it, but all the way it was noted as some of the best terrain you will find at any event. And so we don't, obviously I can't speak for Articon. Articon's a much bigger event. I imagine the terrain's gonna have to be more just sort of standard, but still very competitive, very good terrain. James is doing a lot of work to make sure that terrain is just fantastic, and I can't wait to see it. But as of so far, we are going to make sure Nova, every single year, from this point on, is always gonna have the best standard of terrain. Guys, we constructed all that terrain in about 6 months' time. You may have noticed, at first we actually didn't even have that idea. The original idea set by me and Walker was just to have 5 different types of tables that keep getting repeated. It was only until January or around February period where the idea came about, why not a different table in all of Middle Earth? that turned out to be a fantastic idea, really fun. We're just gonna work on balancing the boards a little bit more toward each other, but ultimately, now the boards create a new dynamic as far as a competitive nature. Now, as far as other things we're gonna improve on Nova next year, we had a lot of prizes this year. However, they were strewn amongst many different events, 9 to be sure. We are now only gonna run 4 events next year, and we are going to have the same number of prizes, which means the GT alone will have about 20 to 25 prizes alone. All right, we're gonna have a lot for those underdogs, all right? It seems like the more players we get, the more that are being left behind on these prizes, and that is a factor we have to consider. So we will absolutely make sure there's more good stuff, more things to reward you hobbyists out there, you painters out there, you guys who just want to have a crazy army just to go absolutely nuts with and get some awards via that. And I think that should be rewarded. They're all parts of the hobby. It's not all about winning. That is not what Nova is about. It's about fun, a lot of that. So another thing that will be changed, some things we know about for next Nova 2017. For those of you guys who want to attend Nova 2017, this is what you can look forward to. Number one, it's going to be about 600 points. I'm pretty solid on 600, but around that gap. Now, what you noticed for those who came to Nova this year is the fact that we had a lot of magic. A lot of magic was running around, and we're gonna try to reduce that just a little bit. Not that magic is bad, but every year we want to keep it fresh and new. Another thing we're going to do is lighten up some of the restrictions. We love our restrictions as far as the comp and everything like that. However, with all the new profiles coming out, we won't know what to restrict. So note that the comp for Nova has to be out in February of next year. We don't know what will happen between February and September of that year. That's all in Adam Trolk's mind, and we can't risk making too many restrictions on that. So we're gonna lighten up the restrictions, bring it down to 600 points. You're gonna see a little less magic at that range, and that means we can actually get a 6th game in because the games be much faster. So those are some of the other changes. Now, one major change, guys, you may have heard it on Facebook and maybe other places as well. There was a bit of a pairing dispute about whether or not the players from the same team should be paired. This was a hard decision to make, really hard decision to make, and ultimately it came down to the GBHL pairing in the 5th round. Now, did that really matter? No, not really, because they won everything anyway. So ultimately, it really didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but I think it just really hurt a lot of the camaraderie. I think it caused a lot of backlash that we didn't really want, and the Canadians were affected by this too. So what we're gonna do is make it very clear in the rules pack exactly when pairings occur. Right now, in my mind, I'm highly considering after the 2nd round, you just get who you get. The reason why is this. With the advent of Articon and the ETC, Nova is no longer the only international tournament. It was the first, but not the only one. Well, the first in the sense of highlighting itself to be that. But the thing is, Articon is taking a bigger position as far as team tournaments go, and it has already changed its rules in light of how Nova operated to say that nobody can, if you're on the same team, you never fight each other. I think Nova is going to do the complete opposite. Nova is just going to be simply a best of the best. You came with. After the 1st round, you just get who you get. And this was approved as of the, I talked about the situation with even the CEO of Nova, and he even agrees. He's like, you know what? If you're good enough to pair against your buds in the final rounds, then congratulations. That's an award even in itself. So that's how we're going to handle the pairing situation going on forward. You will not be paired in the 1st round, but after that. And of course, it will be in the rules pack, so that way we're not looking for this video to figure out exactly what I said. Final thing I'm going to talk about is a lot of people have been wanting me to do list buildings, all right? Now, originally I just didn't have time to make all these lists, and so I handed that off to Dave Nolan and Dwellers of the Dark. But we have now 54 players who made lists for me. Those 54 players have their lists here, all right? Now, who are these 54 players? They are the ones who competed at Nova Open, which means that they gave me all their lists, so you guys get to hear Tom Harrison's, Damien O'Burns, James Clark, Adam Chandler, Matt Iverson, David Clubley, all their lists. I'm by one, break them down in different videos, and we're gonna cover what about their lists make it successful? Now keep in mind, guys, obviously the list is only really 50%, all right? Your skill is another 40%, and you always need to factor in that luck. Who you pair against and what terrain you're on makes a big difference. So we can't really cover that too much, but what we can cover is the list themselves. So if you guys are looking forward to a lot of list building, a lot of the just real analysis of many of the different lists that are out there, then look forward to the videos coming out. I'm actually gonna just kind of run through the first 6 right now so I can sort of just start uploading them in videos. And other than that, guys, if you have any questions about Nova 2017, let me know. We're expecting it to be a fantastic event once again. We're going to be dialing it back on events, as I mentioned, but that means we can give a lot more effort into just simply the GT, the doubles, and the other 2 events that we decide to host. With that being said, guys, just let me know in the comment section below if you have any suggestions or any thoughts on the whole event, and I will talk to you very soon.